Good morning. So let's start the discussion for today. So to start with, we have the topic that we want to discuss. Start the discussion today. It's about the alpha fund, a two deep force in science. Okay, DeepMind, a London-based company owned by Google, announced that it has predicted the three-dimensional structure of more than 200 million proteins using AlphaFold. Okay, this is the protein analysis. It's the entire protein universe known to scientists today. And this is about the protein. What is the importance of what is AlphaFold? AlphaFold is an AI-based protein structure prediction tool. Remember this. So what is this? AlphaFold is a artificial intelligence based protein structure prediction tool. It is based on a computer system called deep neural network. Deep neural network. Inspired by human brain, the neural network uses a large amount of input data and provides the desired output. So, large amount of input data provides the desired output exactly like how a human brain could be. The real work is done by black box between the input and the output layers called the hidden networks. AlphaFold is fed with protein sequence as input. When protein sequence enters through the one end, the predicted three-dimensional structure come out through the other. It is like a magician pulling a rabbit out of a hat. Okay, that means this tool is used for protein analysis. And what is the importance of protein? It is for all cell development, each to the protein supply. Fine. So protein led to all the development of the cells, growth of the cells, and activity of the cells. That's why the importance of protein. Fine. It uses process based on training, learning. So how does AlphaFold work? How this works? Okay. So discussing that. So how it works? We can say it uses processes based on training, learning, retaining, and relearning. The first step uses the available structure of 1,70,000 proteins in the protein data bank to train the computer model. Fine. So what is use the protein data bank? This is important. Remember this. This uses the protein data bank. Okay. So this is fed to the computer or AI based computer which process them for the next result. Then it uses the result of that training to learn the structural predictions of proteins not in the protein database or data bank. Once that is done, it uses the high accuracy predictions from the first step to restrain and relearn to gain higher accuracy of the earlier prediction. Fine. So therefore, so by using this method, AlphaFold has now predicted the structure of the entire 214 million unique protein sequences deposited in the Universal Protein Resource Database. Okay, so they are able to know the protein sequence, okay, structure of the entire 214 million unique. Okay, what they are able to do? They are able to okay, so they are able to predict the structure of the entire 214 million unique protein sequences deposited in the Universal Protein Resource Database. Okay, so this is a scientific tool, okay, to learn more about the protein. Okay, then implication of this development: protein are the business ends of biology, because the entire biological business is based on the protein, meaning protein carry out all the functions inside the living cell. Without the protein, living cell cannot survive. Therefore, knowing the protein structure and function is essential to understand the human disease. Scientists can predict the protein structure using X-ray, crystallography, nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, or cryogenic electron microscopy. These are the three methods used to predict the protein structure. One is using X-ray crystallography. Second is nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy or cryogenic electron microscopy. Using these two methods, one or two, okay, the protein structure is predicted by the scientist. These techniques are not just time consuming, they take years and based mainly on trial and error methods. This is time consuming, one thing. The previous method is two, time consuming, and then the trial and error method, not accurate at all. The development of AlphaFold changes all of that. It is a watershed movement in science and structural biology in particular. AlphaFold has already helped hundreds of scientists accelerate their discoveries in vaccine and drug development since the first public release of this database nearly a year back. Because once the protein structure is known, it will be easier to develop the vaccines or the medicines for the particular disease affecting particular cell, because the cell structure, the structure of the cell which is affected is clearly known, and how and what are the remedial measures can be very easily predicted or can be prepared. So this is the major advantage by which knowing the protein structure will facilitate to find the vaccine or the medicine for specific diseases affecting human being. Okay, development of alpha fold changes all of that. It is watershed movement in science and structural biology in particular. AlphaFold has already helped hundreds of scientists accelerate their discoveries in vaccine and drug development since the first public release of the database nearly a year back. So, just 1 year before, this has been made public and this has been freely accessible. Scientists can access this free of cost, and that has facilitated the development of some medicines for specific diseases. Excuse me. What does this development mean for India? So, from the seminal contribution of G.N. Ramachandran in understanding protein structure to the present day, India is no stranger to the field and has produced some fine structural biologists. Indian contribution to biological development. Okay, apart from G.N. Ramachandran, some other scientists are also involved in such inventions. Fine. The Indian community of structural biology is strong and skilled. It needs to quickly take advantage of the AlphaFold database and learn how to use the structure to design better vaccines and drugs. So this will help the Indian biologist. Okay, so to start their research and find solution to develop drugs to different diseases, because once they know the protein structure, they will be able to start their research on different medicines affecting different cells. Okay, because the structure of the cell is known, through this Alpha 4 report, so the Indian biologist can start their research activity to develop drugs for specific diseases. Okay, so which will be made faster. Okay, and Indian pharmaceutical community, biological community can get rich dividend out of it. The Indian community structural biology is strong and skilled. It needs to quickly take advantage of the AlphaFold database and learn how to use the structure to design better vaccine and drugs. This is especially important in the present context. Understanding the accurate structure of the COVID-19 virus, protein in days rather than years will accelerate vaccine and drug development against the virus. Okay. India will also need to speed up its implementation of public-private partnership in the sciences. The public-private partnership between the European Molecular Biology Laboratories, European Bioinformatics Institute and the DeepMind made the 25 terabyte AlphaFold database accessible to everyone in the scientific community at no cost. So this inventor of this AlphaFold, they have made this database available to anyone around the world free of cost. That will definitely faster the process of research in vaccine development and in pharmaceutical development around the world. And India being a major player in the domain, so the benefit to India will be immense. Okay. India will also need to speed up its implementation of public-private partnership in this sciences. Okay, so not to confine only in the government research sector, if this is made available to the private sector through public-private partnership mechanism by the government of India, then it will be okay much better and accessible. Okay, so learning from this, India could facilitate joint collaboration with the prevalent hardware muscles and data science talent in the private sector and specialists in the academic institution to pave the way for data science innovation. Because Indian biologists are not that lagging behind in research. So this new innovation will definitely facilitate them to access the database and start research in this field, which will lead to development of more and more pharmaceutical products and vaccines in the long run. Okay, and at short notice, which will definitely help the Indian community to get economic benefit out of this and recognized for its contribution in the field of research. Fine. Each alpha fold one of a kind tool in predicting protein structure. So to solve the curiosity, that is the only one. No, it's not the only one. There are other also. So for this, knowing the protein structure, which is a big research. So there are many others. Okay, it's not that. Okay. So, although a two-tip force in structural biology, like any other method, AlphaFold is neither flawless nor the only AI-based protein structure prediction tool. So, as I told you, it is not the only one. Okay. So, Roach Taffold, okay, is Roach Taffold developed by David Becker at the University of Washington in Seattle, US. Each another tool, although less accurate than AlphaFold, it can predict the structure of protein complexes. So then it is so AlphaFold is not the only prediction tool. So there is one more known as the Rosetta Fold developed by David Becker at the University of Washington in Seattle, USA. Okay, this is also of the same use, okay, as like the AlphaFold in protein sequence prediction. Fine. So the development of AlphaFold is sure to make many scientists, okay, it is sure to make many scientists uh, feel vulnerable, especially when they compare their efforts from year of hard work in the lab to that of a computer system. However, this is the time to adjust and take advantage of the new reality. Fine. So it is for this research, scientists had to spend years earlier to know the protein structure. But as the protein structure has been developed right now, so it became quite convenient and easy. Okay, so for the scientist to take the use of this particular protein structure sequencing method. Okay, okay. So doing this will reinvigorate scientific research and accelerate discovery. So this is what the any development in science. Okay. So especially when it affects or which is impact human health is definitely better, and this will help in serving the people's cause, okay, in a better manner, and this should bring a facility to the people in healthcare, because health is emerging as a major issue right now. So any research in healthcare, okay, any research in healthcare is always at the benefit of humanity, and this research by the AlphaFold, okay, leading to the development in pharmacy and vaccination in the world in the coming days, which will be very appreciated, okay, in the course of time. Fine. Then moving further to the next news, the dwindling fighter strength of the Indian Air Force. The present period, there is much emphasis on the military by the government of India. Okay. Since the second tenure of the present NDA government, emphasis is being put on defense. It has been, it is known from the budgetary allocation in the last 2 years, although we are going through a pandemic, but the highest allocation in the budget is for the defense sector. If you make an assessment, so in 2021 22 and 2022 23 union budget, the highest allocation is to defense ministry. Although the country is going through a severe pandemic, this shows the seriousness of the government towards the defense need of the country. So why this shift in emphasis? Because of the threat in the border. Because since last few years, both the hostile approach of China and Pakistan are getting aggravated. So government has been emphasizing more on enhancing defense preparedness, and in this light it is going for importing sophisticated defense equipments, as well as emphasizing on indigenous production of defense requirements through the Make in India program. And Make in India program has permitted has led to many development in defense technology indigenously, and government has also allowed uh, FDI in defense manufacturing, and the private sectors have been allowed to venture into defense manufacturing. This is a big shift in the government approach when government decided to allow the private sector in defense manufacturing. Fine. This has resulted in a substantial and quicker gain in the defense domain, where we are able to produce a number of sophisticated defense equipments through technology collaboration and through indigenous research. Okay. In the post that liberalization period, when government allowed FDI in the defense and government allowed private participation in defense manufacturing. Fine. But in this situation, so our fleet of the strength of this Indian Air Force, okay, so it is falling. In a tragic accident, the MiG-21 trainer jet of the Indian Air Force crashed in Rajasthan, killed both pilots on board, Wing Commander M. Rana and Flight Lieutenant Aditya Bawal, who this has once again put the focus of the MiG-21 jet as well as on the Indian Air Force fighter strength and modernization. Because so this is called as the death engine of Indian Air Force, because so many crashes, air crashes of this particular trainer crafts, and many young pilots have sacrificed their life while undergoing training using this particular aircraft. Okay, this MiG-21 was first inducted to the Air Force in the early 1960s, and since then, more than 800 variants of the supersonic fighter were inducted into services. Okay, so this is the largest one. It remained the frontline fighter jet for the force for a long time. During this period, there were over 400 accidents involving the jet, which claimed the life of around 200 pilots. This is a very pathetic situation when so 200 young pilots under training lost their life due to the accident involving this MiG-21 aircraft. Currently, there are 4 MiG-21 squadrons in service, consisting of upgraded vision variants. This mixed squadron is the most important one because the training of this Air Force pilots start with this MiG aircrafts and the major training craft available with the Indian Air Force. And in the last few years, through 400 accidents, 200 pilots have lost their life while being trained using the MiG-21 aircraft. There are only four squadrons of MiG-21 in the Indian Air Force from the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Defense as per the report doubled in March 2020. As and when the technical life is complete, Indian Air Force cannot keep them extra even for a day. Life extension is done for some aircraft. Fine. Once the lifespan is over, because of this susceptibility to accident, they are no more deployed beyond the lifespan. Okay. As and when the technical life is complete, Indian Air Force cannot keep them extra even for a day. Okay, in this regard, Indian Air Force now have the Vision aircraft remaining, which are upgraded but still old. Okay, this MiG-21 Vision, okay, is the upgraded version of this 21 MiG-21 aircraft, but it has been upgraded, but still it is older in comparison to the other available with other countries, and as per the technological dimension they are quite old. Fine. With delay in new inductions, the Indian Air Force has been forced to continue the last four MiG-21 Vision squadrons in service because we are unable to induct new trainer aircrafts to the squadron. So the Indian Air Force is compelled to keep the MiG-21 squadron in Air Force for training purposes. One squadron is said to be phased out in the next few months, while the remaining three squadrons are planned to be phased out in the next 3 years. This phase out was worked out months before the last week's tragic incident. Okay, looking at the expiry of that lifespan, the government has decided to phase out these MiG-21 fighter planes, MiG-21 trainer crafts from Indian Air Force in a phased manner. This year, so out of the four squadrons at functional at present, so one will be dismantled this year and three more in the coming 3 years. Okay, so this was the plan of the Indian Air Force, but the most important requirement is so to induct new to phase out the old. Okay, at the present fighter strength of Indian Air Force, the Indian Air Force has an authorized strength of 42 fighter squadrons. As time passes, this downtown in increasing the total technical life is completed. However, the rate of new induction is not matching the drawdown, depleting the overall number of fighters squadrons. Additionally, several frontline aircraft in the inventory, including the Jaguar, the MiG-29, will uh, will begin phasing out by the end of the decade, adjusting their period. For instance, by 2027-28, the first of the MiG-29 inducted in the late 80s will start going out because that lifespan will be over. In the last few years, Indian Air Force has inducted two squadron of indigenous light combat aircraft Tejas and two squadron of Rafale fighter jet procured from France, which pushed the squadron strength to 32. Fine. Although the sanction strength was 42, right now we have 32 functional squadrons, and because so the non-availability of the aircraft has resulted in the less number of squadrons in the Indian Air Force. Although the light combat Air Force Tejas indigenously developed led to induction of two squadrons, and the imported aircraft that we have brought from France, the Rafale from France, they are also added with two squadrons in Indian Air Force. In January 2021, the Air Force has signed a contract with Hindustan Aeronautic Limited for 83 of the more advanced LCA Mach 1, which will start receiving from early 2024. Right now, the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited is developing the light combat aircraft Mach A1. So they will be provided to the Air Force and will inducted from 19 sorry from 2024 onward. this will add strength to the squadron of Indian Air Force. Along with the to be acquired 114 multi-role fighter aircraft will help arrest the drawdown, because so the number of uh, aircraft whose tenure is over at drawdown, so equal number are to be inducted, fine, but due to the lack of the aircrafts, okay, so we are unable to induct the number of aircrafts required. Okay, so once the adequate number is available, then we'll be able to add more squadron to the Indian Air Force. Fine, fine. Then uh, a large and even more capable light combat aircraft Mark II, as well as the fifth generation advanced medium combat aircraft, is under development. However, their availability enough number will take some time. Okay, but in the roadmap to shore up the fighter strength, the Indian Air Force acknowledged that they will not be able to achieve the desired strength for the time being, and that they are doing the best they can, because non-availability of new aircrafts is putting pressure on Indian Air Force to continue with the old outdated aircrafts at some time. In addition to the indigenous aircraft coming off, Indian Air Force is confident that increasing the lower availability rate of Sukhoi 30 and other fighters in service will offset some of the shortfall in the interior. Okay, however, that could be potentially impacted due to the war in Ukraine and Western sanctions, because the supply from Russia will be delayed as Russia is engaged in the war with Ukraine for the last more than 4 months, and it has completely derailed the economy and military infrastructure in Russia. Okay, so it may not be able to comply to our orders in time. The process may be further delayed. However, that could be potentially impacted to the war in Ukraine and Russian sanctions. According to the Indian Air Force, there is also a very large number of Sukhoi 30 and other fighters on ground. Serviceability state has been low. Once the Indian Air Force gets that, the existing strength itself can ramp up before the new aircraft come. So the servicing needs to be done in some aircrafts, and if the proper cooperation from the supplier or the ministry which has developed this is not being made available, it will be difficult. So once it is made available, so it will be quite easy on the part of the uh, Indian Air Force to augment to the firepower. Okay. However, that could be potentially impacted due to the war in Ukraine and Western nations sanctions. According to Indian Air Force, there is also a very large number of Sukhoi 30 and other fighters on ground. So serviceability state has been low. Once Indian Air Force get that, the existing strength itself can ramp up before the new aircraft comes in. In the last 7 to 8 years, several steps have been taken to increase the serviceability rates of the Russian equipment in use, especially the Sukhoi 30 Mk1 fleet, which constitutes a significant number of Indian Air Force inventory. This Sukhoi 30 is a major player or are the major defense aircrafts with the Indian Air Force. But so there is requirement of some spare parts for these from Russia, but the ongoing war has put some question mark on the timely supply of these equipments to us. If it is not made available in time, it may bring challenges for the Indian defense aircraft industries, because the Russian spare parts, if they will not be made available, it will create problem for India. Part of the measures is long-term spares and support agreement, as well as joint ventures in India with Russian original equipment manufacturers for faster turnaround. So recently, during the visit of the Russian Prime Minister, okay, the Russian Prime Minister visited India recently, few months back, and during that period, so we have signed a number of defense agreement, including the manufacturing of the AK-203 rifles in India, okay, by technology transfer from Russia. Along with that, about this fighter plane, we have also signed agreements. Okay, so this the long term and the short term measures will definitely lead to overcoming the problems being faced by the Indian Air Force. Okay, so part of this measure is long-term spare and support agreement as well as joint venture in India with Russian original equipment manufacturers for faster turnaround. If the Russian manufacturer, so we have signed, we are signing agreement with the Russian manufacturers to provide the same to us in time. So it will lead to some relief in the situation, in the emerging situation. Okay, but if not, then we will be in trouble in future because so due to the war, if the supply chain is affected, so then our own defense preparedness will suffer a severe casualty in times to come. Fine. So moving further, so over 59 lakhs cases pending in high courts where 96 women judges are serving in the high courts. Fine. So this is one news regarding the deplorable conditions of the high courts and the Supreme Court in the country as far as the number of pending cases are concerned. Right? Okay, so this is a news which manifests the pathetic situation in Indian judiciary. Over 59 lakh cases are pending in high courts in India, whereas so the judge strength in high court and Supreme Court and the number of women judges was reflected by the minister, that law minister Kiran Reju in the parliament in a reply to the Rajya Sabha. Right. So, over 59 lakh cases were pending in the High Courts until July 22nd and July 2022. Law Minister Kiran Reju said in a written reply in Rajya Sabha. Okay. In reply to another question, the minister doubled data on women judges serving in various courts, including 4 in the Supreme Court and 96 in the High Courts all over the country. Fine. So, reply to the pending number of pending cases. Fine. Replying to a question so the minister has provided a breakup for backlogging of 59 lakh 57,454 cases in 24 high courts, and the Allahabad High Court each at the uh, top with more than 10 lakh 26,417 cases pending, followed by Rajasthan High Court, Bombay High Court, Madras High Court, Punjab and Haryana High Court, Madhya Pradesh High Court, and in Odisha, if you look, 1 lakh 85,567 cases are pending in Odisha High Court. Fine. So the highest number of pending cases are in the Allahabad High Court in Uttar Pradesh, where the number is 10 lakhs 26,470. Okay, and Odisha, being a small state, it has also around 1 lakh 85,567 cases pending in the High Court. So, and much more must be pending in the subordinate judiciary. If this is the number of cases pending at the High Court level, then what to say about the cases pending in the lower judiciary? Okay, so replying to a question from Riju provided breakup the backlogs of 59 lakh 57,454 cases in 25 courts. Allahabad High Court had the highest number of pending cases over 10 lakhs. Next are the High Courts of Rajasthan for 6 lakhs. Bombay, so just under 6 lakhs. So the top three are Allahabad High Court, Rajasthan High Court, and the Bombay High Court. Fine. Other data shows. While noting that disposal of pending cases in courts within the domain of the judiciary and that the government has no direct role in this disposal. So disposing the cases, so government cannot do anything. Only the judiciary can take steps for the quick disposal of the cases because when the matter is sub judice, so government has no role to play. Government can only give the report that this is the number of cases pending. But the decision regarding the cases, okay, and how the cases will be closed and the verdict will be delivered, it is completely dependent upon the court itself and the court procedure itself, okay. And government has no role to play in this because the judiciary is to try the cases and give the judgment. The central government is fully committed to speedy disposal of cases in accordance with Article 21 of the Constitution and reduce pendency because it is very well said that justice delayed, justice denied. Okay, but the government cannot do anything than providing a technical manpower support to the judiciary to expedite the matter. The government has taken several initiatives to provide an ecosystem for faster disposal of cases by the judiciary, like virtual courts and video conferencing, and filling up of vacant positions. Fine. This is the number of women judges in the country. So in Delhi, the highest number of judges are there. Women judges are there. 12 judges are in Delhi High Court out of 24. Okay. Then Telangana has 9. Bombay has 8. Okay. Calcutta, Punjab, and Haryana has 7 each. Gujarat and Kerala has 6 each. Allahabad and Karnataka has 5 each. Okay. Andhra Pradesh 4. Madhya Pradesh 4. Then Guwahati High Court in Assam, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu Kashmir, Ladakh, and Rajasthan have 2 each. Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Odisha, and Sikkim has 1 each. Okay, but Manipur, Meghalaya, Tripura, Patna, and Uttarakhand has no women judges in their high courts. Okay. Then the minister presented the details of women judges in reply to a question. The 4 women judges in the Supreme Court are against a sanction strength of 34 judges and 96 women judges in the High Court against a sanction strength of 1108 judges. That means so women judges number is increasing. Okay, so in High Courts and Supreme Court, out of 96 women judges in High Courts, Delhi Madras High Courts between them account for 1/4 and 12 women judges each. Fine. 5 High Courts, Manipur, Meghalaya, Tripura, Patna, and Uttarakhand do not have a single woman judge. Okay, but that is not the case. The case is the number of pending cases. So, because the number of judges also, as per the sanction trend, very few vacancies are there in the high courts. Okay, but the unnecessary delay in delivering justice is putting the people in trouble because so they are on the verge of losing their confidence and their patience on the judiciary because unnecessarily the cases are being dragged and so it is being delayed and justice delayed is equal to justice denied as it is called very popularly. Fine. Then the next news is about the School Innovation Council. The School Innovation Council was launched and has been introduced to all schools of all the states. The School Innovation Council is an initiative taken by the Minister of Education. Okay, so Minister of Education, as per the new National Education Policy (NEP) 2020, the school innovation, the Ministry of Education Innovation Cell, okay, of the Ministry of Education and All India Council of Technical Education. So they have launched the initiative called the School Innovation Council. The School Innovation Council is a council of teacher, she, is a council of teacher, students and experts from industry and academia to conduct year-round activities for students and teachers on innovation and entrepreneurship. This will be a council comprising the teachers, the students, and the expert from industry and academic domain, which will conduct year-long activities in the school itself for students and teachers on different innovation and entrepreneurship development. The School Innovation Council will enable mindset change, awareness, and bring on ideation, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Will bring on training on ideation, innovation, and entrepreneurship, design thinking, intellectual property rights, startup finance, and HR among school teachers and students. So, as per the changing trend, so these are to be highlighted by the School Innovation Council, which is completely unique and new to our education system. Okay, the School Innovation Council promote out-of-box thinking in school education as envisioned in the National Innovation and National Education Policy 2020. It will also enable ranking system of schools on the level of innovation-oriented activities. So the schools will be ranked as per the level of innovation-oriented activity conducted in the school. To implement the School Innovation Council, in all schools across the country, the SIC portal has been developed where schools can register themselves for these activities or to start this. The School Innovation Council will link schools with Innovation Council established by the Minister of that MIC at higher education level to further provide exposure to the school students. So more and more school students will be involved in this activity along with the teacher and the industry and the other from the uh, you can say academic and industrial domain and from the alumni association of the schools. So to bring the best in the field of education, entrepreneurship, and industry to the one fold by which practical knowledge can be given to the students and that will be of use to them in a larger domain. Okay, so School Innovation Ambassador Training Program. The School Innovation Ambassador Training Program was launched to strengthen the mentoring capacity of teachers for cultivating and handholding innovation and indigenous ideas from students. So handholding concept is being promoted. Okay, so this will definitely add more practical experience to the students and the handholding by experts in the domain will lead to a practical oriented outcome, okay, and which will be more beneficial for all. Okay, the School Innovation Ambassador Training Program has been conceptualized by the MIC and AICTE to train the school teachers across the country. Okay, this will give training to the school teachers across the country. Under the this School Innovation Ambassador Training Program, teachers undergo 72 hours training, and those who qualify all the following five modules with a minimum 50% as passing marks are recognized as innovation ambassadors. So this is the teachers who will be called as teachers completing successful training
will be designed as innovation ambassador. Design and thanking innovation, idea generation and idea handholding, finance, sales and HR, intellectual property right, entrepreneurship and prototype, product development. The innovation ambassadors are competent to nurture the young school students on ideation, IPR, product development, design thinking, problem solving, critical thinking, and skill of entrepreneurship. So all these will be taken care of by this particular program launched by the Minister of Education as a very innovative idea to bring practical orientation to the schools, the school children, school students, as well as to the teachers. Okay, there is a second news on corporal punishment. Fine. So three private school teachers in Pune have been booked under the Juvenile Justice Act over allegedly thrashing three class 10 students and threatening to grade them poorly in internal assessment. Corporal punishment means punishment that is physical in nature. There is no statutory definition of corporal punishment targeting children in the Indian law. However, the Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009 prohibits physical punishment and mental harassment under Section 17A of the Act and make it punishable offence under Section 17(2). According to the guidelines from eliminating corporal punishment in school issued by the National Commission for Protection of the Child Rights. Okay, so although it has not been clearly mentioned in a different act, but it has been clearly provided in the Right to Education Act to ban corporal punishment. Physical punishment is understood as any action that causes pain, hurt, injury, or discomfort to a child. However, light it may be. Example includes hitting, kicking, scratching, pinching, biting, pulling the hairs, boxing ears, smacking, slapping, spanking, hitting with any implement like cane, stick, shoe, chalk, duster, belt, whip, giving electric shock and sword. All these are covered under physical punishment. Okay, so the issue is that as per the right to education, so physical punishment or corporal punishment is strictly prohibited for the school children because their tender mind is affected by this. Fine. So this is to be avoided. It also includes making children assume an uncomfortable position, standing in the bench, standing against the wall in a chair-like position, standing with a school bag on head, holding ears through legs, nailing and forced ingestion of anything, detention in the classroom, library, toilet, or any closed place in the school. Okay, the physical punishment. Then coming to mental harassment is understood as any non-physical treatment that is detrimental to the academic and psychological well-being of a child, including uh, uh, sarcasm, calling names and scolding, using humiliating adjectives, intimidation, using derogatory remarks for the children, ridiculing or belting a child, shaming a child, and more. So these are all psychological or mental harassment which has psychological impact. Fine. So these are strictly prohibited as per the law in force. Okay, what are the provisions under the law against such punishment? Section 17 of the Right to Education Act 2009 imposes an absolute ban on corporal punishment. It prohibits physical punishment and mental harassment to children and prescribes disciplinary action to be taken against the guilty person in accordance with the service rules applicable to such person. Section 75 of the Juvenile Justice Act prescribes punishment for cruelty to children. In case of corporal punishment, the accused could be penalized with rigorous imprisonment up to 5 years and fine up to 5 lakhs. Okay, see the gravity of the punishment or the severity of the punishment. Section 75 of the Juvenile Justice Act prescribes punishment of cruelty to children. In case of corporal punishment, the accused could be penalized with rigorous imprisonment up to 5 years and a fine up to 5 lakhs. You see, what is the magnitude of the physical and financial burden of the punishment under the Juvenile Justice Act. Fine. But amid the situation, in theory, corporal punishment is covered by all the provisions under the Indian law that punish predators of physical harms. While these provisions make no distinction between adults and the children, in practice, corporal punishment in school and other institutions tend not to be prosecuted because it is still accepted socially at several places. National Commission for Protection of Child Rights guideline has also been issued regarding this corporal punishment to the children in the school. Okay, so the National Commission on Protection of Child Rights guidelines for elimination of corporal punishment against children require every school to develop a mechanism and frame clear-cut protocols to address grievances of students. There must be student grievance cell, so where the students can file his complaint and can ask for grievances. A drop box are to be placed where the aggrieved person may drop his complaint, and anonymity is to be maintained to protect the privacy. So, if the physical reporting may lead to reaction, so drop box are to be placed at different suitable places in the premises, and so without disclosing the name of the person or the student who have put the complaint, so they can put their complaint and they should be reviewed by the committee created in the school, and action can be taken against the teacher. Every school has to consider corporal punishment monitoring cell consisting of two teachers, two parents, one doctor, one lawyer, okay, counselor, an independent child right activist of that. Fine. So, this every school has to constitute a corporal punishment monitoring cell consisting of two teachers, two parents, one doctor, one lawyer, counselor, and independent child right activist of that area, and two senior students from the school. Okay, this council, the corporal punishment monitoring cell, shall look into complaint of corporal punishment given by any teacher in the school to the students, because as per the right to that right to education or the RT 2009, so corporal punishment, the schools have been made punishment free. Okay, so there is zero tolerance to this because this affect the child physically and psychologically. Okay, so to this is the provisions, and where the teachers are doing this, so this is taken very severely by the government and the child right activist, and in this particular case, so as it affect the child more psychological than physically, so this is to be discouraged. Fine. So then in this series, let's see what is the long questions for today's discussion. So today we are discussing about the location of iron and steel industry away from the source of the raw material by giving examples. You know, as you know, from the beginning, steel and iron industry are raw material intensive industries. But they are called as raw material intensive industry. That means due to the heavy and bulky nature of the raw material, so it is preferred to locate them
near the source of raw material. Fine, because it is easy to carry them. So that's why these industry are located near the source of the raw material. Okay, so this is the ideal practice, but trend is changing right now. Fine, but the trend is changing right now. The iron and steel industry is a basic for the development of a number of industries in the global economy. The defense industry, transport and heavy engineering, energy and construction. Okay, so at global level, in 2018, the world crude steel production reached 789 million tons and showed a growth of 4.49% over the 2017. China remains the largest crude steel producer, followed by India, Japan, and USA. Fine. So, steel is a major industrial output around the world, not only in India but around the world. So, near coastal regions, so regions behind it are away from its source of raw materials. Why it is earlier? So the industries are near to the source of the raw material, but right now they have been shifted. So near coastal regions, as iron and coal were depleted and need for import coal and iron increased, this made factory to shift to newer area in the coastal region. The coastal factories depend on imported iron and coal and lower cost of transportation from factory to the port. Iron ore and coal producing regions have bi-directional relationship. The wagon that transported coal to iron ore regions could return empty, so uneconomical in use. Hence, the wagon could return with iron ore towards the coal producing regions. Thus, in the both these areas, iron and coal industry flourished. That means one side it will bring the coal, and while returning it will carry iron to the other side. Okay, modern technology, new technology available for steel production reduce the pull factor of the coal mines. Modern technologies such as electric smelter, open hearth system, etc. have helped in shifting steel industry away from the coal and iron ore reserves by shifting efficient use of scrap metals and also reducing energy requirements. For example, Bhushan steel plant in Ghaziabad. So it was completely away from the source of raw material. Fine. So and many countries like Japan, they have been able to establish factory away from the raw material by totally dependent on the import of raw materials. Oxygen converter process and electric smelters uses less energy, and now such mini steel plants can be located away from the mines and towards the cities. Mini steel plants are located in the eastern India and have a high gestation period. They are integrated complexes with the entire process from raw material processing to final conversion into alloy and steel products being done at the same place. Many steel plants are located near cities and they recycle waste steels to produce finished products. They avoid competition with integrated steel plants by locating away from them. Fine. So then strategic reasons, after World War II, USA and USSR adopted a policy of not allow a concentration of industry in one region. Thus, in USA, some plants were set up in western regions such as California and USSR, and some other in eastern sides towards the Pacific coast. India to use licensing to locate industry in backward area, and they might promote development. So the very criteria of locating such industry near the source of raw material is changing over period. So that is due to the advent of new technology, then improve communication process, and so the linking of the market. So all these have made this industry to be located away from their source of raw material. Fine. So even after local coal iron resources are depleted, the iron and steel industry do not frequently shift their location because of industrial inertia and reason like labor is available abundantly and skill in the industrial areas. But if the industry moves to new locations, such labor might not be available. Rail, road and transportation facility towards market and port are well developed right now in industrial locations. The same facility are not developed in new locations, and so it is more convenient to import raw materials and modernize operations. Secondary, industry do not shift even when the primary industry might move. So the entrepreneur
and dissuaded from shifting their location as it might affect their market base. So they are allowed and they are motivated to continue the place by depending upon the import of raw materials when their stock of raw material is adjusted. Fine. Then right now let's see about the MCQs for today. So the first question, Right to Education Act 2009 defines and imposes an absolute ban on corporal punishment. It is right. Juvenile Justice Act prescribe only fine in case of corporal punishment, and accused could be penalized with up to 5 lakhs. Fine. So which of these statements are correct? Okay. So the fine will be up to 5 lakhs or 5 years in jail term, not only one. Okay. Right to Education Act 2009 defines and imposes an absolute ban on corporal punishment. Fine. So, okay. So which are right? In this case, none of these are the right answer. Then coming to two, it is a so which one about the School Innovation Council? It is a statutory body established under the Right of Education Act 2009. Fine. It is not a statutory body. Fine. Recently it has been constituted for the first time in the school industrial cities on pilot basis. No, it has been established in many places. So both are incorrect. Fine. It is a council of teachers, students, and experts on industry and academia to conduct activity for students and teachers on innovation and entrepreneurship. So option 3 is right. So both 1 and 2 are incorrect. So answer will be A. Then coming to question number 3, National Commission of Protection of Child Rights constituted under the following acts. So it is the Commission on Protection of Child Rights 2005 Act. This National Commission of Protection of Child was established. Okay. The term like Rose Theta 4 and Alpha 4 often used should which of the following: AI based protein structure prediction tool. So this is in Alpha 4 is recently used, and this Rose Theta fold was the is another one. So J protein sequencing system. Okay, AI based system. Then NG Ramachandran is renowned in biophysics. Okay, for the protein analysis. Okay, Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act, MMDR Act as it is called. So what it's called as? It is called as the M, popularly known as the MMDR is in news for its proposed amendment, and it opposed by some states. With reference to this, consider the following statement. State Assembly can make law on such minerals within the territory of the state concerned. Make law on such minerals within the territory of the state concerned is a constitutional right of the state under Article 246(3). Okay. So both the statements are correct. Fine. Then moving to the next question number 7, a task force headed by VK Paul, recently constituted by the Indian government, is associated with which of the following? It is associated also to monitor and provide guidance on the expansion of diagnostic facilities and to explore vaccination against the monkeypox, because monkeypox is increasing threat in the country, and there are deaths that has taken place in India, and the number of infected person has crossed 10. So this is the biggest worry for after the pandemic, COVID pandemic. Again, monkeypox incident around the world is increasing, and as the infection has spread to India, so government of India has also expressed its commitment and expressed its seriousness in controlling it. Okay. Then AL Najaf IB is a joint military exercise conducted in India with Oman. Okay. Mission Amrit Sarovar is implemented by which of the following ministry? Ministry of Rural Development. Under this, so 75 under this 75 ponds will be renovated newly dug in each district for rainwater harvesting. This is celebrated in the 75th year of Indian independence. So, which is called as the Azadi Ki Amrit Mahotsav. Okay, the term EOS-02 recently seen in news is associated with which of the following? So it is with ISRO. It is a new mission. Okay, of ISRO, and it is with ISRO. So I answer is D. So friends, with this, so we are completing today's discussion. Okay, and we will carry on this discussion every day at this particular time, and we have started adding uh, more time to this, so to give you more information. So keep on watching for your improvement. Thank you.
आज क्लास नहीं